More and more people are calling for a ceasefire between Israel and Gaza, and Benjamin Netanyahu just made a comparison that tells a slightly different story than I think he realizes.
I want to make clear Israel's position regarding a ceasefire. Just as the United States would not agree to a ceasefire after the bombing of Pearl Harbor or after the terrorist attack of 9/11, Israel will not agree to a cessation of hostilities with Hamas after the horrific attacks of October 7th.
He's right that the US didn't agree to a ceasefire after 9/11, but was one possible? Right after the attack, the US was bombing Afghanistan, and the Taliban said that they were ready to discuss handing over bin Laden to a neutral country if the US halted the bombing campaign. They said they would require evidence that bin Laden was behind the attacks, and if given such, they'd be willing to hand him over to a third country. And of course, which country would have been part of that discussion? George Bush's response was, "There's no need to discuss it. We know he's guilty, just turn him over. There's nothing to negotiate about. They're harboring a terrorist and they need to turn him over." Now, obviously, I do think bin Laden was guilty, and I fully understand people saying, why should we trust the Taliban? But it was at least worth trying, because let's remember what did end up happening. Tens of thousands of civilians were killed over the next 20 years as a result of the war. The US and its allies lost thousands of its own forces during the fighting. Oh yeah, and after a 20-year occupation, the US withdrew and the Taliban retook Afghanistan. Now, there are a ton of differences between that situation and what we're seeing between Israel and Gaza. But if there is just one takeaway, it's that if a ceasefire has even a chance of preventing tens of thousands of death and destruction, it's worth at least trying.